VS Mkers.
Oh, baby, I'm ready to see how this one shakes up then. Apologies for the delay there, guys. Glad you stuck with us and are getting ready for a showdown of the underdogs. I think the War of the Underdogs is what I called it, because you look at these two teams, you probably look at Parabellum as well, and you'd be saying, oh, underdogs in the tournament weren't expected to do very well last week, but they've made it into playoffs. And we, from the UK, love an underdog story. You just never know what to expect coming out of these boys. Look at Parabellum again on day 2, bringing down some real giants, beating NIP and SSG, the world champion and the runner-up of last year, all in the same day. You just don't know what to expect, but between these two, it's going to be heartbreak at the end of this series. For now, though, we're kicking things off on hookah and billiards. In terms of setup pace, anything screaming out to you that's worth talking about?
At this point, we're fairly stock standard in terms of those defender choices. We do have the Goyo, which is not necessarily sort of a completely stock every single time pick, but to be fair, very useful. We can see those deployable shields just being placed to play onto that hooker balcony door there. So generally, you're going to have almost every single time this site is defended, you will have a player playing at the top of the cool
Hey,
stairs.
I haven't seen this in a while. This is interesting, where you reinforce the Aqua Hatch, you stick a shield on top of it. Normally what you then get is electrification on it as well, so it can't be destroyed from below. But I guess here, not really a concern. So they are going to dig in deep. This could be interesting. Sometimes it falls completely on their face, like gets naded out, for example, and you're pinned in the corner of Aqua. You can't run back into sight, for example. You just completely pinch it in. So I'm keen to see how long that's used, if used at all. Cloud9 is something a little bit different, though. Nova, normally the support player for this team, being the one to stack up right against the lobby door and look to give Mkers something to think about on their entry into the building.
Well, I mean, looking at that Aqua Hatch, Des, obviously there is the option on the side of Mkers to deal with that reasonably easily. They've got Sasha on the ace. Shouldn't be required for too much more. As I say, maybe looking to open up that quad wall for the angle onto the smoke, but you only need 1 Selma charge for that. 2 will destroy a hatch, so if Sasha could get off this nice and quickly, it is possible to dislodge Invitational reasonably easily from underneath, but he will need to be careful of Nova on the Melusi, who is in there just looking to make a nuisance downstairs. But for the time being, Sasha has gone in on the ace and used one of those Selma charges on the VIP wall. Now, it's an interesting angle that we don't always see used too much anymore from the attackers, but the reason that they're doing that is it just gives a great line of sight from VIP all the way into sight, all the way to the billiards table. It cuts the sight in half, and it makes it very difficult for the defenders to rotate in and around the site.
I know about this one, sat now right in the back corner. I believe it's Invitational holding this one down. Captain Envy sat in the spot. No, that isn't a special skin for the attachment. I believe it's just a placeholder. Either way, he's going to have to work some magic because he is being pressured by 2 or 3 members here. They could burn him out with grenades, and like I say, he's then got absolutely nowhere to go, so dug himself in without an angle out. That can cause you problems. However, we have burnt about 1 minute and 45 seconds here, Ace, for Cloud9. They've burnt through that clock well. Mkers currently being stalled out at this back corner. That should be Envy getting blown out. Here we go. They're going to run. It's going to be the Iana clone coming in first. One coming in from Luggage. All too easy to clear him out. Lolo picking up the first kill in this series.
Invitational not really making the best challenge for me onto that. It was a little bit sort of half-hearted, still getting into the ADS as standing up. Didn't really feel like he was ready to challenge. Now, Mkers, they're ready to challenge Harper as they manage to down the Goyo, and that leaves them effectively 5 versus 3 at the minute. I'm not sure there's going to be an opportunity for Cloud9 to collect the Goyo at this point. Indeed not, as Akwi will finish him off with a frag grenade there. Sasha gets Shiol as well. No, Harper has been collected. I apologise. He is the last man standing. 20 HP. Tries to make a round of it, but can't, Des. It's a flawless round for Mkers. What a start for the Italian team.
I love Cloud9, but that was a weak round. Really, really weak. Barely aware of where they were being pushed from, being grenaded from below, being cleared out without challenge inside of Aqua. One man with no idea where he's being pushed from, wasn't even looking the right way at the round end. That was just chaos from start to finish. And for Mkers, yeah, well played. Won your gunfights, got your utility and well, excellent, well done. For Cloud9, messy and scrappy, barely competitive in that round. Need to see that change coming into round 2. I don't want to point at the map and say, oh, it's Coastline, it's not a Cloud9 map. There are no maps that you can get away with really avoiding here once you get into playoffs. You get that one ban, sure, but they have played this map before. They know how to do it, just a scrappy first round. Let's see how things progress as we go further into the defensive half.
Round number 2 then, we'll see us heading back to hooker and billiards once again. Cloud9 setting up in largely a similar fashion, except they've got the Maestro this time instead of a Goyo, so they're not going to be playing the deployable shields. I don't think we're going to see them employ the shield setup inside of Aquades, primarily because they don't really have many shields. They've just got the one on static, and I'm guessing that hooker door would be more of a priority than would the Aqua corner, just because they didn't really get any value out of it at all. They had 2 ADSs in there, they had WAMI magnets, they had a deployable shield, they had a reinforcement, and that's quite a lot of utility really to stack up into Aquarium, especially when Invitational basically just gets removed out of there without any significant challenge being made onto the attackers. So I think it's best to let that one go, write it off as a bad job, and just try to deploy that utility elsewhere.
It's a key thing around mentality and not letting that now bleed into the rest of the round. You go for a reset. Nova very, very narrowly getting away with that one, I think. Could have maybe been picked off and the run across, but unfortunately, Mkers just a smidge too late to the action, it feels. Now it's back to Wayne, now kept himself a bit further away from the door, but looking to contest still from the hallway down into lobby. And Envy's looking to join him a little bit on the roam. Not going to see that same setup as last time round, I think, after how that went out. Very understandable. Let's not try it again.
So 1 minute into the round nearly. Mkers again just on the roam clearance, getting the drones out there, looking to get themselves established inside of the map. They were a little bit ahead of themselves in round number 1. They'd already got themselves into VIP and opened up that long angle through to site, which I'm not sure they've achieved just yet, although Gemini does seem to have got himself established. There we go. Sasha, thank you very much. About 20 seconds behind this time, getting that onto the VIP wall. So the same angle will be opened up, suggesting a very similar push here coming in from Mkers, although this time Aqua gets himself up onto that hooker balcony, looking to just apply pressure through onto the angle. Now, is he aware of Nova downstairs? Needs to be very careful here because the Malusi could potentially find an angle up onto that balcony. He's not going to be challenged for the time being. Halfway into the round, still 5 versus 5. I like the pacing from Mkers, Des. They're not throwing bodies into the fray here. They're happy to wait until the opportunities come their way, and they're not losing the early deaths.
No, there's no need to get too scrappy with it, right? More playing behind the utility to begin with, clearing out what they need to, and then worrying about taking the gunfights onto people. Harper's been playing on cool vibes the whole time, by the way. Had a couple of frags thrown towards his general direction, but I think both bounced down behind the sofa inside a hookah, so not really too concerned about that. But at least this round's been better for Cloud9. No one's died early. They've responded well to when there has been aggression being shown. Okay, let's back away here, make sure we've got eyes on the angle. Shyle standing close. Again, no idea, it seems, with that angle from the window. That one is textbook Siege. That's one that you should know about.
Nova just managing to get that opener. Shyle shut down, losing Akui, and that leaves us now 1-0. Mkers 4-3 in the round here as Invitational takes an advantage. 30 seconds left to go. Out comes the Toxic Babe canister, and that is going to be the Gemini drone just moving in there to gain some information. If you're wondering why it wasn't taking any damage from that Toxic Babe, Gemini manages to find the kill onto Invitational. That gives Mkers a late advantage, but there's the 6th man. Let's not forget, Des, Cloud9 have got the time on their side here. Static gets killed. Harper last alive once again. 1 versus 2. The clock is not going to matter as Scato starts to get the diffuser down. The plant will not be successful as Lolo manages to find that kill in the 90 corridor just before it does get confirmed, and that's going to be Mkers taking round 2. Cloud9 need to be very careful here, Des. This one could run away from them.
Cute little play as well with the Gemini drone coming out from the Iana. Jumps over the wall, distracts the Maestro. Guy swings from hookah window straight away and puts a bullet in his skull. Good round from Mkers once again. A couple of key mistakes again to touch on from Cloud9. I mentioned the one coming in from the hookah window. Your stepping angle of that doorway. That guy is absolutely going to blast you to high heaven. And sure, they may have got the trade, but still not one that you want to be losing that early in the round. And there's that angle once again. The peak comes out as well for the trade. That could have been a quick 2K coming out if they weren't too careful, but thank God Nova was able to adapt in time, and from there we saw it went a little bit more chaotic as things kind of bled on.
Cloud9 have got me panicking about my predictions at this point, Des. I did go in for Cloud9. It was for me it was one of the more difficult games of the day, and I just thought I'm gonna hedge towards experience, but it's also the one where I know not so many people will select it, and I always try to avoid us all picking the same, so I thought I'm just gonna go in there. I think that might be like the sort of the upset of the day, but we are true to form at the minute. Mkers coming out and looking extremely good here. Des certainly looking better than their station in the overall grand scheme of Siege not being inside a Challenger League yet. I'm sure that is just a matter of time, you would think, looking at their performances so far. I can't, I can't heap enough praise onto Mkers, really, and they are showing us plenty of that skill and ability here at the beginning of round number 3. 2-0 on Coastline.
And when they first rocked up in the SI quals and started bodying a couple of teams from the top level, everyone was like, okay, what's going on here? Then they got up against Na'Vi and Tempera, who were two teams that were already qualified into the closed bracket stage, and beat both of them. They were some wild games, and they surprised us from start to finish. But the big question that hung over their head was, can they now go and do the same on land? Can they deliver to the same level? And I think especially for players like Akwi, Lolo, the two big players that we've seen really going off in the groups last week, the answer absolutely is yes. But a couple of big results against big teams in a best of 3, that is where experience, I think, is really going to come in for those larger teams, and you might start seeing a little bit of difference between the two. However, I will very happily be surprised by any underdog any day of the week.
Oh, I'm absolutely here for it, Des. I absolutely love it. You know, the last thing that I want to do is to be able to come into this tournament, come into these playoffs and just write down all the names in a bracket and get it all right.
Yeah.
You know, there's absolutely no fun in it. We want some upsets. We want spanners thrown into the works. We want it to just be an absolute mess in some ways and really be surprised by it. Now, still 5 versus 5. We've got the Goyo brought along once again. This time the utility being used to try and keep hold of Penthouse for the time being and just prevent that push coming in from Mkers. But once again, they deal with it extremely well. As we can see, Harper forced away there. His utility burnt in front of his eyes. He's flashed out. It's all he can do to escape, and it's not even that, Des. The drone will see that he's down, and the kill will come in. Scato managing to finish things off for Mkers. It's another opening kill for the Italian side, and they are looking strong.
Their early round is great. It doesn't matter what Cloud9 are preparing for them. They are dealing with it expertly, dodging the potential C4s from below, scaring Cloud9 into trying to retreat back through open angles. The doorways from there, for example, always going to be able to see that from the sofas inside of Penthouse. They make it look easy at the start of these rounds, and C9 not finding any of those opening kills that did them so much work last week and gave them a good chance in a number of rounds. Here, they're the ones bleeding out early in the round, and already with a 5 versus 3 and 60 seconds to play, you're feeling like Mkers should take this one.
Certainly are. Now, Akwi, he's going to stack up on that service door. The site, of course, being kitchen and service. If the man takes the peek here, he's going to lose his head, Des. There you go. Absolutely called it. Nova completely shut down. Easy for Akwi as he gets 2 kills.
So easy.
What a headshot through to Shayo. Shuts the man down. Sasha's getting the diffuser down on the ground. It was a matter of time, Des. 1 versus 5. Another flawless round. That's 2 out of 3 for Mkers here. And boy, oh boy, do they look hot on Coastline.
You say hot on Coastline. I think Akwi was cool as a cucumber. No panic in his crosshair. Just sat there like, bam. Next guy to the left. Oh, guess what? He's going to peek to the left in 2 seconds' time. Bam. Second kill comes through. It was textbook. It was clean. It was calculated. It was cool. Mkers 3-0 up and making this look like a bit of a cakewalk. So you could understand and sympathise with Cloud9 if they choose to take a timeout. That's exactly what they've done because, my God, have they got to have a conversation.
That kill from Akwi, you could just see it coming a mile off, couldn't you?
I love those. When they're orchestrating, you just see, whoop, one
you
shot
really
comes
could
through.
see it coming from a mile off, and it was one of those where you see somebody's about to like trip up or you see an accident about to happen and you can't look away from it.
You just know because of the outline. You're like, okay, just wait for it.
You just know that there's nothing that you can do to stop it happening, but you know that it's going to.
I hate using the word sheesh, but it is one of those moments.
It's a rough start for Cloud9.
Very, very rough start. Beautiful, though. And the reverse angle, the second kill that we saw back on the replay there, didn't see in the round itself. One of those is Cloud9. You need to be winning those. It just looks like they're half a second behind what it is that Mkers are bringing along here, and that's why they're walking out on top. However, I'm pretty sure this timeout is nearly done. You have your 60 seconds. You can have your conversation. Your coach can step in, offer some words of wisdom, help reset the mental if things are absolutely fragmented in the team. Cloud9 are getting out of the map. They are trying to make things happen, but it's just looking unstructured, and that is where Mkers are taking the advantage. However, timeout is over. We are into round number 4. It's going to be a blue bar and sunrise defense. And a couple of changes coming out of us, seeing the Alibi and the Ella step into the field.
The major problem, Des, Cloud9, even taking a timeout at this point, is you know, let's be honest, they've struggled in the first 3 rounds. They've only got 3 kills out of a potential 15. Obviously, 5 kills per round available, 15 over the first 3 rounds, and they've only managed to get 3 secured on the board, and that is a problem. They've only got 20% of the available kills. So Cloud9, like you say, they need, I don't know what's going to have been said during that tactical time out there, but it needs to have been some strong words, Des. It needs to have been something to fire them up to start getting some kills here, because, like I said, this one is going to be over before they know it. We've seen it a couple of times through the group stages. Oxygen did it to a few teams looking like they were on an any percentage speed run getting through there. We saw games over in 26 and 29 minutes, and this is the sort of game that could go that way if Cloud9 don't dig their heels in and start getting a few kills. I'm looking towards Shio, I'm looking towards Invitational, players that we know are more than capable of finding them. Right now, they just keep getting found out. They just keep getting found in the wilderness and picked up easily.
Again, they are trying. They have got like one playing in penthouse, they have one playing below on the vertical angle, they have one inside a theatre, so they had the intent, but the delivery simply wasn't there. And ideas are a dime a dozen, execution is what counts. Let's see then if that timeout has had any real impact. Again, you're still seeing them out in the map. MB roaming upstairs with the shield committed to the top floor as well. 1 inside a kitchen to greet their guests on their entryway into Coastline. It's all good greeting them, but you need to actually put a bullet in their head and say thank you for showing up and thank you for the round if things can progress that way. Pool entrance going to be the focus. In comes the nade, removes that mute jammer that was...
Let's go!
Okay, I mean, that was a cheeky one. We'll take those. It's a start, boys. Now what more can we turn into it? Interestingly, their only opening kill in the last 4 rounds as well.
Great start coming in for Cloud9 there, getting a nice kill for Nova in from behind that deployable shield, and it excited me, Des. I get on board with that one because I want to see this turn into a match. I don't want this being a run over, no matter which team it is that needs to find their way back into it. I just hope that they are able. Nova finds himself a second. Sit down, Akwi. What a great double kill from Nova. He's absolutely dominating that pool entrance door at the minute, and Mkers, they just don't have an answer for him inside of that position now. Shiol's holding a cheeky angle there, just looking to find himself a kill if anybody tries to push towards that kitchen door or potentially the poolside window that we can see through our screen on Lolo's point of view there. Now, Gemini's going to try and push himself into service, but he's going to be shut down through the soft wall. Will be down. I'm not sure that Cloud9 are just aware yet. They sort of tentatively take the peek, and that's the angle from Shio, but it's completely shut down by Lolo on the reverse angle there. There's 4 versus 2 coming into the final minute, and we might just have the first round on the board for Cloud9.
Oh, you can't be missing those, Charles. They're absolute sitters. The guy isn't even aware that you're there at the window, and you miss your shots. He flicks onto you and brings you down. That's one you'll be kicking yourself for. Charles, a player that was an absolute god throughout 2020, had a really poor stage 1, and we said last week he needs to show up here at the groups if Cloud9 are going to do well. He was the top-rated player on the team, 1.10, I believe he ended, had a good showing, but where he stepped up, other members went a little bit quiet, and that is always going to be a problem. But right now, it's Mkers with a problem. 25 seconds to go in a 2 versus 4. Nova, he's just clicking heads for fun this round with that SMG. Speak about the laser beam with the SMG. 4 kills, 4 headshot. The man has flown in that round.
Great round from Cloud9 there. They did exactly...
From Nova, let's not beat about the bush.
They did exactly the right thing towards the last 30 seconds. I was just going to say, you could see from the silhouettes, they'd all just pushed themselves back deep into the site, and they were just ready to hold angles. They had a man on Cool Vibe stairs, they had the crossfires established, and it was all down to Mkers to try and get in there and to aggress in. And in a 2 versus 4, it was always going to be difficult. It puts a round on the board for Cloud9. And Des, how many times have we seen this from Cloud9 inside of APAC? They come out and they have a slow start. It's sort of almost like their MO, really. They just come in, and that is how they operate. They're just really slow for those first 3 or 4 rounds, and then they wake up and they come back into it. But there is still a significant gap between what we've seen from these 2 teams right now. Mkers are looking good, Des. They're looking sharp, they're hitting the shots, and for me, they've certainly been the better of the 2 teams inside of the first 4. The question that will be answered in the next couple of rounds is whether that is where Cloud9 wake up.
A bit of a technical pause coming out here again. Another issue to address. Once that is done, we will get back into things once more. It's a nice promising time. I think good to have a little pause if you're on the side of Cloud9, just to have the conversation again. Right, things are going right now. And no doubt on Mkers' side, okay, how can we crush this uprising? We were absolutely dominating. We've had a small setback. Let's crack on and make this a 5-1 half here, given how good we were in the first couple of rounds. I almost want to start calling those cheeky little one-taps with guns, just like the Acqui. After we saw it in the earlier round, Nova had a couple of them in that round, a couple of sprays through walls or through doors, got him a couple of kills back, but it's always nice to see.
Heading into round 5 very shortly then. Mkers are 3-1 up, and if you've only just joined us, it's fair to say that the European side are flying at the minute, although Cloud9 have just clipped their wings there in round 4 as they managed to hold out and get themselves a round on the board, which is their first successful defence, and it came inside of Blue Bar and Sunrise. They've so far lost Hooker and Billiards twice in round 1 and 2, and they also lost Kitchen and Service in round number 3, so need to show us something different heading through 5 and 6. I think if Cloud9 come away with a 2-4 half here, Des, I don't think they're going to think that's the end of the world.
No, you'd obviously be praying for a lot better, but given this isn't your map pick that you stepped in here on the defensive side as well, I think hat raised that it's a 52% split. Pretty much bang on as far as maps go in the current meta that we're in. Interesting when you think about how it used to be very, very attacker leaning, and at least here has been quite balanced between the two sides. Quite a swing back, I suppose, if you look at it that way. Either way, just as a quick update, we are indeed waiting on this technical pause to be completed. And as I say that, the clock keeps ticking. Caster hit the big red start game button, which means things get back underway. And looks like we're stepping now into Hookah and Billiards once again. The Maestro being present on Harper once more. Let's hope this time around they can tell the tales from the toes, because in that previous round, they would just be they would punch in smoke, chasing ghosts. Acqui and Co. literally had their number all the way through, so something has got to change this time round, Tim.
Nova, as you say, having a big round. He's 5 and 3 now, so that just drags that kill amount up. I commented on it coming into that round that there just weren't enough kills on the board for Cloud9. They were just losing out in every single gunfight. Mkers were just really dominating in that area, but things look slightly more promising. Invitational's got himself a couple on the board as well, but they just need to make sure that that continues if Cloud9 want to find anything here. Now, Mkers, for my money, they just need to keep on walking, Des. They've come in here strong. They've really had the advantage in all but one of the rounds. They've not rushed in to the opening gunfights. They've got themselves established nicely inside the map, and then they've always tried to take them in an advantageous position. They've tried to find those roamers. They've tried to locate and just sort of section out players that they can then just bully and find the kills onto. And if that continues, it's going to be a tough day for Cloud9.
Absolutely could be. And the thing is, for Cloud9, nothing really changing in terms of the way they're set up. They had Envy above Nova in the previous round, or the previous time they were here. You had Nova himself hanging around White Stairs, around lobby, looking to contest the front door. So on Mkers' side, if they're starting to catch on to habits here, or have looked back at a couple of Cloud9's old games, chances are they've got a very good read on what the setup is and what is going on. Harper, they've got his number. Acqui just knows. Look at this. It's like going to some, like, Coastline and SI can resume as if nothing ever changed. Let's get back into this one, Ace, and see if Mkers can carry on the dominance they had before the pause kicked in. And yes, we were kind enough to let the players out of their chairs. They didn't have to sit there for an hour and a half. Don't worry, guys. And a few people DM me on Twitter like, and the players being made to sit there this whole time. I was like, no, of course not.
Of course not.
They can go to the toilet, they can get a drink, they can sit in the player lounge, it's okay. It obviously does disrupt them a little bit here, so we'll see, actually. The craziest thing to say now would be, yeah, our fortunes turn when a power cut happened. That would be one hell of a story for Cloud9 to turn this map on its head. But up until now, it has been Mkers being dominant. So let's see if for Cloud9, that hour or so break is going to do anything to get them back in the swing of things.
Round number 6 then will be the final defensive round for Cloud9. Here we're going to see them try to hold on to Kitchen and Service. It was a site that they tried to defend back in round 3. They were beaten by Mkers. It's also worth pointing out that Mkers have had a considerable advantage in the entry battle so far. They've been coming in, they've not been overly rushing it, Des. They've been picking up those opening kills at about the 1.5 minute mark. They've been very steady at getting themselves into the map, getting established, building their beachhead, and then moving on from there. Plenty of an intel game, lots of droning going on, and then just collapsing, particularly on those roamers, and finding themselves the early kills. And it's been working for Mkers. They've been able to take full advantage of those numbers.
I'm really nervous there, seeing that spray coming through the soft wall, but fortunately did not connect onto the player who was hovering just behind. But 30 seconds in, as you'd expect, nothing too crazy. Now, I recall from back when we were watching this earlier on, Nova always playing around lobby on the Malusi. You sometimes had, I believe previously it was Invitational running the mute playing on the upstairs. It probably changed around a little bit here. Bit of a pseudo, what we call the pseudo mirror window, or a bit of a sticky tape job sort of thing here being thrown together. It isn't a mirror, but it is a shield with a wall opened up so you can still see over the other side. It's looking to help prevent some of the damage that might come through, but damage is going to rain through. Scatto starting things out onto Harper, clearing him out of theatre, and Mkers have dealt with this so quick every time they've been greeted in Penthouse and theatre.
Very much the same as I was literally just saying, Des, coming in about the minute mark, and Mkers get themselves that opening kill. Scatto, as you say, just closing things down there and allowing access into theatre. Now he's also going to be able to pick up Gemini there and make sure that he gets himself back into the fight. He'll only be on 20 HP, so one bullet from most guns at most distances will do the job. He's going to have to be very careful, and I'm sure being on a kitchen attack, they will want him alive to get that floor opened up, both in Penthouse, which looks down into service, but also in VIP, which gives you the view down into kitchen as well. The yellow ping's just coming out there to tell him from his teammates exactly what they want opening up, but they need to be careful. As we've said countless times, those angles work both ways.
They do indeed, and I know that Charles hoping for the longer angle being held off to the far side, that someone steps across, maybe the butt gets a little bit brave in terms of what area the floor is trying to open up, but so far absolutely not the play. The Cloud9 not got themselves into any sticky gunfights, otherwise have kept themselves going. That said, Invitational just walked straight into Aqua, and you've got to be mindful of these. Earlier on they were losing a couple of members to the back angles, not being aware of someone pushing them from a window or a doorway, and just being taken out clean. Static bringing one down to Scatter, but the plant is going in as they go into a 2 versus 3. Envy still down on the ground, and here comes the swing. Nova taking another fight, 4 versus 1. Maybe a 3 with Envy on the ground, but this shouldn't be one that the side of Cloud9 lose. I may as well call them Nova 9 at this point for all that he has been doing. Either way, this should end the half at 4-2, which you said earlier on, Ace, would be a great half for Cloud9 given how it started.
Yeah, given the performance that we've seen so far and how dominant Mkers have been, 2-4 really isn't the end of the world for Cloud9. What I'd call it is a foundation. It's something to start building on when they move into their attack. It was a good collapse from them. I was a little bit worried at the halfway point. They'd lost that opening kill. Envy Taylor just straight in front of the kitchen window and got himself downed, but ultimately they were able to turn it around, get themselves on top and win that one out. Mkers then 4-2 at the half, going to be heading into round 7, whereby they will go on to the defence. Cloud9, they're going to be attacking hooker and billiards to begin with.
I was curious to see if we get this setup coming out here, and it's actually gone one beyond what I expected. The Lion, the Jackal, as well as, what was that on earlier on they had a second ago? There's something else on there, the Yana, sorry, which I believe might get changed away. In fact, it's held on to. We'll talk more around that in a second when it comes on screen. This round being a lot better, though, I've got to say. I think for the side of Mkers, they had the right idea. They got the vertical control. They busted through Penthouse and Theatre and brought down a man. It was a really good start for them. But as things bled on, even with the mistake from Envy running into a sightline, that's probably happened at least once around so far. They find the crucial kills where they need them and bring themselves up to that 4-2 scoreline. Let's see how the second half plays out. On this side, we're having the Goyo as well as the Alibi coming along, and the Smokes also got a shield. So a lot of shields being deployed here by Mkers. Screams to me we're going to try and see them sitting behind all of this utility, and on the other side, it's going to be the work of Cloud9 to figure out the best way to deal with that.
It looks like there's an extension being built, Des, into Penthouse and Theatre side particularly. And the reason for this from the defenders is basically to prevent access to Penthouse and to VIP. We actually saw that it was something Mkers used on their attack, was getting Sasha into VIP with the ace, opening up the wall with the Selma charge that gives a line of sight all the way through into the billiards table area and just makes it very difficult for the defenders to move around inside. So by playing 1 or 2 defenders inside of the theatre, it just means that the attackers can't push forward into VIP, can't push into luggage and aquarium without first clearing that theatre area, because the big concern is, of course, that you're going to get hit on the flank and shut down in the mid to late rounds. So something Cloud9 will no doubt have to pay attention to early doors here. They've got a lot of utility to play into as well. Mkers have certainly set themselves up to hold this for as long as possible. But 45 seconds in, Cloud9, a steady approach, much like Mkers on the attack.
Being very, very steady. I was going to say it's about the 60-second mark or so that Mkers broke open the penthouse and dared to hold on their attacks and cleared things out. You can see already they've removed the shield, which has forced Gemini to fall back ever so slightly. Aqui still holding on 90 out to the sides. There's some committal from the side of Mkers to try and waste as much time as they can out here to the east. Again, by now, Mkers have broke Cloud9's defense when they were the ones on the defensive half. So we need to see some moves coming forward. There's the move I'm looking for. Envy onto Lolo, taking him out, and that entry kill coming through for Cloud9 in what feels like one of the first times in this game, converted to a second, but they weren't worried about Aqui on 90, who swings out and brings one down. Might find himself pinched on another angle. It's going to be Shile pulling him in the dirt. Mkers punished for their aggressive defense out to the east, and now find themselves in a 4 versus 2.
Aqui unfortunate to lose out on the second man there. If he gets the kill on Shiol into VIP, he's home free and back into the site, and all of a sudden Mkers aren't looking too bad. But that's not how it went, and Cloud9 have got themselves another man advantage here. 4 versus 2 coming in towards the final minute of the round. Sasha, he's undergoing pressure inside of Aquarium, but I tell you what, Des, Harper did not expect that Jack in the Box to come flying out of the door there as the barricade was taken down. A great kill there, and it could be a bit of a momentum shift for Mkers, and you feel like that's just what they need at the minute, is that little bit of aggression, that little bit of power just to move them forward. Now then, the Claymore is cleared out, but Scato unable to get himself the kill on the run out there. 2 versus 3, 40 seconds to go.
Cloud9 stalling out a little bit here as well. I think just composing themselves. They were in the 4 versus 2 and have now lost a man, which makes the round considerably riskier. You'd think to say here, well, just push as a collective, try and go for the trades if you really want to. They had Charles a second ago looking to push down the main hallway, but he's now dropped down into luggage to push through as well. But Sasha, it's one of those, I'm not stuck in here with you, you're stuck in here with me, because I've got a shotgun trained on the doorway, and as soon as you walk forwards, guess what? It's going to connect with your skull, you're going to find yourself in the dirt. There's one, and like that, Cloud9 have given this round away. They've gone from a 4 versus 2 to a 2 versus nothing. Great clutch up by Mkers, and that's one hell of a way to turn around.
Sasha and Scato take a bow there, showing fantastically well how to play that short-handed situation, and you just knew, Des, they were onto a loser on that single door when you've got that SAS shotgun just primed, pumped and ready to go at such a short distance. It was just really well played by Mkers, forcing them into that CQC situation and giving themselves every possibility, every advantage to win in those gunfights, and it was just click, click, boom, down they went, and the round goes to Mkers 5-2.
Again, some questions that I think I'll be asking on Cloud9 side right now. Is it's the basics where they're falling apart. The initial entry, sure, a bit of time being wasted, that's whatever. It's one of those small things that teams can improve on. But it's more the things in that case like the grenade not connecting behind the bar. That was been a freest kill of their lives if they managed to connect it. The awkward swing outs where it's constant 1v1s onto the man. Sasha playing inside of Aqua. They aren't looking to play through and follow up on trades at the back of that one. Missing out on crucial gunfights. Again, it's not like... I wish we could say we're talking about more advanced concepts here and things that were going wrong, but it does feel like the basics are slipping away and eluding Cloud9 a little bit here. 5-2 to Mkers, 2 more rounds, and they're playing Coastline in quick fashion. We then go through to Clubhouse, which would have been, well, is Cloud9's map pick. A place we know that they're very comfortable. If they can't do it there, Ace, it's lights out and they go home.
Well, you know, that's the point that we're coming down to now. This is not group stages anymore, Des. You know, we ran over it before, but obviously, you know, we're back into things now, and we've got to remind everybody of what's on the table here. What are the stakes? And that is that we've got 2 teams that have come into this tournament as, I don't like to use the word too much, everybody's earned their place here at Invitational, but we've got to say that these are 2 underdog teams when you come in looking, you know, at potential champions and favourites. But Mkers particularly, Des, have impressed me throughout this. They really have been very, very solid, and they've had some great wins. Cloud9 as well, earning their place here in the playoffs. But we've got to remember that for these two teams, one of them is going to find heartbreak at the end of the night, and one of them is going to find elation as they go through to the next playoff stage. It's not going to be easy to say goodbye to either of these teams, but Cloud9, surely they want to go out with a bang if that's how it has to end, Des. You don't want to go out with a whimper like this.
No, I mean, they're being pretty explosive about things right now. The Gone 6 and a concussion used on soft surfaces. The first one on the door, the second on a soft wall. So I'm hoping that there's some kind of acknowledgement here if we don't need all this utility realistically. In fact, there's another Gone 6 on Invitational, which has now also been consumed. So they've gone through that. They've gone through the impact coming out of the Sophia, sorry, I completely forgot her name for a second. And that's without really worrying about shields, I don't think. So, a question to be asked around is them just trying to pick up the pace a little bit here and stepping aggressive as Scato tries to go for exactly that. But Harper, he was aware and waiting, and he's still waiting for his man to come peeking out. Needs to hope that he's not pinched him from the north at the same time, because Akwi is on the hunt. He's on the prowl. He has no idea that's going to be the easiest kill in the world, as he was so heavily distracted by Scato elsewhere. Lolo scattering static to the wind, 5 versus 3, and it looks like, Tim, they can step up to match point given how comfortable this is looking for the boys.
It certainly does, Mkers. It's becoming very difficult for Cloud9 to break their stride here, Des. It's just everything about this game is moving to the rhythm, to the beat of Mkers' drum. They are just moving through and dictating absolutely everything. They are able to encircle, outmaneuver, and just outplay Cloud9 right now. 3 versus 5, and we find ourselves in another one of those lulls where Cloud9 have to take a step back and just think about exactly how to proceed here and what to do. We've seen them have a few good moments, a few good kills, and you just feel if they could string 1 or 2 more together, then maybe they could make more of a map out of this. But Mkers looking very dominant at the moment. Shaol just holding an angle. He sees the man inside the main lobby. He does not get the kill as Lolo manages to find it on the reverse across the courtyard, spilling blood there, and find ourselves now 2 versus 4 as Invitational looks to get an aggressive push going in through the service door. Finds Akwi, but obviously that leaves his position well known to the defenders now. And they're not going to overpeak this, Des. There's absolutely no need to. All they're going to do is play behind that utility, send out the smoke canisters, tried a little run out from the main door there. It was unsuccessful. In comes Nova with 1 onto Gemini, 2 onto Sasha, and that leaves us 2 versus 2, but 5 seconds left to go. That's going to be the big enemy here, Des. Invitational is down. Nova has no option but to try and get that diffuser down. He has to come off it as he's approached. It's die or lose to time. Pick your poison, and ultimately he chooses to go for time.
Either way, you're not walking away the winner. That much is guaranteed. Another one of those kind of scattered rounds where, okay, you give away the early deaths, and say forget about those. Look at what you've got left to work with in a 3 versus 5. They had the EE1Ds, they had the flashes still available. A lot of that utility used early round for opening up the soft walls, which ultimately doesn't matter all that much, I don't think. But then when it comes around to actually thinking about pushing in, you've got nothing to clear the barbed wire that was impeding Invitational. It's, again, the bare basics of, like, you've used all this utility to clear elsewhere around the map, but things like barbed wire are what is slowing you down. Probably questions to ask there around Cloud9, and again, efficiency of use, where the focus is in these rounds, because as it stands, Mkers are just absolutely steamrolling them on Coastline. And Clubhouse looks like we're walking into it with Mkers at match and series point, and ultimately tournament point for Cloud9, as they would be going home if they lose that second map.
Absolutely, and you know, a tough day for APAC is starting to look like a better day for EU, Des.
We need it.
There's been struggles for the EU teams so far, and it looks like Mkers, they're going to be fighting the fight on behalf of the EU region at the minute. And you know, you can't argue, Des, that this is not the first time we've seen this sort of performance out of them, and I'm sure there's going to be teams going away from this. Even the LATAM teams that are going extremely well at the minute, they're going to be looking at Mkers here and thinking, you know, that is a potential bump in the road. They are a potential problem here, because Mkers really have been able to sort of recognise the weaknesses and adapt very well to counter those and to play into them and take advantage of them.
You know who the winner of this game plays? TSM. TSM plays against the winner of this.
Oh, I remember a Mkers versus TSM game, Des.
Do you, Tim? How did it go?
I do. Well, it didn't go well for TSM.
Oh, no way. And what was wrong with that map that was on? Villa. I was messaging you about it last night, I remember. I watched it back, actually, and my God, they had some big brain executes on there. For example, the DKB, which we're seeing being brought along here by Invitational, up on the skylight, dropping down 2 smokes into trophy window, and then going for a push off to the side, which netted 2 kills for Mkers against TSM. They looked incredibly good on that map, and I would love to see a best of 3 between those 2 teams. Either that or it's Cloud9 coming up against TSM. A matchup that we see very commonly in a couple of other esports. So one I'm sure that would stand the test of time and go down in history. Although I'm pretty sure we all know which way that would go. Static starting off things with a kill onto Acqui. Now, is the alibi removed? I imagine the shield was already deployed somewhere on the map, because that has been kind of a big part of the Makers setup, is having at least 2 shields per round.
A good opening kill there from Static to get things soft on the right foot for Cloud9. You know, I don't want to labour the point, Des, but we have discussed it previously that Cloud9 aren't always the best at following through on that entry kill. At least so far here at SI, they've done extremely well to get in and get themselves the numbers advantage, but not always double down. And you feel it is just that sort of mid-round where they don't seem to, you know, transition very well into the late round and take that power and momentum with them. But right now, they are attacking onto Blue Bar and Sunrise. Gemini is in a very important position, trying to hold down Office on the Maestro at the minute. He's got the Auda there. Static, he's looking to open up some vertical angles down into Sunrise, and that just might move the defenders round a little bit and allow Shayol to take a little bit of advantage here as he finds himself an angle onto the kitchen door.
Well, he's got the angle here, so he could just sit and hold the cross while the rest look to go for a push in through Sunrise, for example. So I'm thinking maybe that's going to be the play. Looks like it is 2 have now dropped on the other side, but immediately Scato and Lolo, their attention turns towards that pool entrance doorway. And all they've got to do is sit and wait. This was that death angle that Nova got 2 or 3 kills from in one of the earlier rounds. I believe round 4 it was. So they're going to be all too familiar with the damage that can be done onto the pool entrance doorway. Question is whether or not they can land it, because for Cloud9, that clock is running down. I know you look at it and go, Des, there's still 45 seconds left. What are you on about? With how much they've stalled out so far, it could really come back to bite them.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done as well. They've got themselves into good positions, but now they need to think about exactly how they're going to get inside and get themselves a diffuser down, and that's how they're going to do it. Des Harper's going to pick up a long-range headshot onto Scato and just clear the man out from the side of Kitchen there. But Lolo has something to say about it, as does Gemini, using the Auda to find the headshot onto Static. 3 versus 3 as Makers come in and just flip the script once again and manage to level things out, even though they were behind. We have kills going in either direction as Lolo finds Nova, only to be traded out by Invitational, who starts to put that diffuser down on the ground. He has to stick this, Des. Shayol with essential cover there with a kill onto Sasha, but we find Invitational down. Gemini has done it, Des. He finds the down with the evil eye, the kill with the Auda, moves in, finishes the man with the bailiff. He will disable the active diffuser, and that is Makers in the driving seat, taking full control of this one after the first map of Coastline.
Oh, spoke about the liberal use from Cloud9 from their destructive projectiles. Again, missing the most crucial thing of all, an evil eye sat inside of sight, staring at the plant position, and with the down coming onto MB Taylor with no idea where he was getting zapped from. That's the kind of beauty that you want in a post-plant. To be honest with you, untroubled Makers is the only way I can describe them outside of Nova. You know, putting the scare up him a little bit with some god shots coming out of his defensive Sunrise and Blue Bar. Nothing is going to have troubled them on that map, I think, barely breaking a sweat. And now they get to go into the realm of Cloud9 on Clubhouse, and they're going to have something to do there.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Static come through and have a reasonably good half when we came back from the short break there, so it wasn't terrible, but they need, coming into map 2, they need Static, they need Nova to have those sorts of performances again, and then they need a few others to step up. This is playoff time, Des. You can't be relying on 1 or 2 players. You need everybody in there chipping in and just really pushing you towards that next round.
Again, I really hate being the kind of hypercritical caster, but for Cloud9, there are so many things I could look at in this game and just go, boys, these are things that you've got right all year long in the APAC League. They never bothered you then. Why is it suddenly such a big issue now where you're on LAN with reduced ping, you're all playing together in the same environment? Maybe it's being on a stage like this is throwing them off, I don't know, but it's definitely not the Cloud9 that we know and love from the APAC League.
It's not, and Cloud9 are a team that have got a lot of experience. You know, we expect them to come into this sort of situation and thrive, essentially. You know, they've been there before, they know exactly what it's about. That's not characteristic, I'd have to say, of the sort of performance we're normally used to seeing from them. But let's hope, Des, that it's a blip of a map. Teams have them, they've come in, they've just not got to grips with it against Makers. You know, Makers have had a good read on them, they've played very well. I don't want to just put it down to mistakes from Cloud9. We have to say that it's very, very good play from Makers as well. So let's hope coming in we see a more competitive map 2.
Clean, clear and clinical for Makers, a little bit cloudy for Cloud9. No doubt a few things to talk about in the break, and hopefully they come back competitive for Clubhouse. APAC is done. They are out of the tournament. Let's go to a quick break, and when we come back, our analysts will break it down ahead of Clubhouse.
What does it take to create a secure community? Join us on the second episode of I Call Next as we discover how to protect what's most important and enable worry-free play.
Taste the clouds, dance with the moon. Take a trip around your Ladies and gentlemen, Fratelli d'Italia, l'Italia se desta. They finally rose up. We saw them on map 1, and Mkers take Coastline. That's where it all started between them and Cloud9. 7-2, a huge advantage for Mkers in this game.
A very big one indeed, and they started all off strong for them with their attack. And well, that is often, you know, we were having a little bit of a scuffle on it. Well, why would they start on the defense? Well, anyway, 3 attacking rounds in a row right here for Mkers. They started off strong, showed why maybe defense was not the right place to go. But they really were in control over the Mkers, over Cloud9. I believe at some point Cloud9 only had like 3 or 4 kills, and we were 3 rounds in at the point at that moment in time. So Mkers, they did send Cloud9 almost home.
I mean,
Yeah.
you opened in Italian. The only Italian I learned from Assassin's Creed is Requiescat in pace, which I think means
Requiescat in pace,
which means rest in peace, which is fitting. It was entire control. It was C9. Yeah. It wasn't that Mkers were having an outstanding game. C9 was struggling on basics. They weren't hitting what we've seen them do in APAC North. We wanted them to step up coming onto the big stage. And obviously there's a bit of a break, but they just couldn't. The 2 rounds they took were from a 3K and a 4K. Outside of that, deaths on basic angles.
One may say that much like ourselves and our Italian, Cloud9 were messing up on the basics.
Oh yeah, I'm sure my pronunciation is
No,
horrible.
actually it's pretty good.
Thank you.
I wouldn't know myself, I'm not Italian.
No,
I'm told I look like Maestro, but it's only my dad that speaks
compliment.
Italian in the family.
I think we also got to say, though, we got to quickly put the asterisks on. It's been a bit of a break, so it's hard to get back in. So,
by the way, let's just put it out there, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for dealing with this, as we have tried our best to get back into shape for our games ASAP. And yeah, we're finally here. So thank you very much for being with us and kind of helping us out through it. I know it wasn't super easy, but we're still here. Don't you worry. And the excitement will continue for our matchup. Now, this is specifically about map 1. I think it's very clear, you know what, Mkers very comfortable. Cloud9 not anywhere near as much on Coastline. You've seen a lot of Coastline, and you know what, we're in sunny Ibiza. No clouds allowed, seems like is the play of the day. But how about we take a look at our second map in this series, Clubhouse. That is one where Cloud9 are usually in APAC North way more comfortable.
Yeah, it's built around what they've been able to do very well. They obviously had a great showing on it during the sort of group phases where they were able to smash FaZe. They would have and should have beat Liquid as well. But they had the similar problems to what we've seen on Coast, where they weren't closing out rounds. It was about 4 rounds that they lost because of things that C9 did, not because of things that FaZe did. The worry is they repeat those mistakes. They learned from them before, but they have to, even amongst the breaks, even amongst the being on a different stage, remember what happened the first game so they can replicate what they managed to do in the second game against FaZe.
We've seen a two-faced Mkers during the playoffs for this map. First of all, we had the biggest upset up until that point, which was the 7-4 victory over TSM on this map. And then we had Oxygen that just completely steamrolled them with an 0-7 loss. So, you know, it's going to be either of those two. Are we going to see the Oxygen kind of Mkers that is going to be shut down? Or are we going to see what I really loved about them, the amazing setups they used for that Clubhouse against TSM, where they managed to beat them with a 7-4. It can go either way.
Then let's compare the play style of Cloud9 and TSM. When you compare those two, how does C9 really measure up, and in what ways do you see similarities or not? Things that Mkers, and this is the specific question, things Mkers will have to deal with that are different from what they had coming up against them.
I don't think you can compare them.
I think that is a very valid way of saying things, yes.
Cloud9 is a team that it plays in APAC, they play really well. But right here, they have been struggling on the 6th Invitational against the international teams. And I'm not sure as of...
Why?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Why are they struggling? They play a different game of Siege they play here than they do in APAC North.
Yep.
Is it because of that? Is it because they try and play more usual here compared to what they do in APAC North? Because in APAC North, they pick Finka every other round, 50% of the time. We haven't seen it a single time here yet, for example. And, you know, that might be because they're having a little bit of an easier time in APAC North, so they just decide to play with the Finka. Or it could be because there is a bit more pressure, maybe. So they're urged to play more conventional siege, which doesn't suit them possibly.
Does that work against Mkers, Em?
No, I think Mkers are at their best when they shut down conventional siege. I think that's when Mkers are at their most creative. They have this drive about their play where if they're free to kind of flex on their skill and flex on their creativity, that's Mkers at their strongest. That's why they struggle with OXG. Because OXG is this roster of kind of fervent gun skill. It's so new, it's so aggressive across the board, and they didn't quite have the answer for it. The structure that TSM have put forward, as I said at the very beginning before Coast, the structure that SSG play, Mkers can punish. And they've just done that against Cloud9, which is the same of the story. And we need something debonair. We need something daring. We need something out of the box from C9. We need something no-holds-barred APAC from C9 for them to sort of bring themselves into this fight, because structure Mkers destroy.
Time to channel in your old savior.
Well, yeah, they're currently
APAC.
one leg back on the plane now, so they need to make sure that they are going to step it up. Otherwise, it's APAC all out.
That is very true, and I'm sure Guz and Dev and the entire crew from APAC will feel very, very sad. Now, won't we, gentlemen? That said, it is time to toss it to our casters. Map number 2 between Mkers and Cloud9. Never before seen in Rainbow Six competitive history. Italy versus South Korea. Let's send it to our casters on Clubhouse. Des Ace, enjoy.
Thank you very much, Milos. You're speaking about Dev. He's gone to bed at 6 a.m. over there, but for the story, he's gone to bed because he knows Cloud9 are on their way out. Hap jokes about already having a leg on the plane. It's starting to feel that way unless they can do something special here on Clubhouse. For Mkers, they're eyeing up that 2-0. Have had a bit of a delay. They want to get this over and done with and out the way.
Yeah, exactly right, Des. I think Mkers will be very keen to get this one closed out, just so that they're not giving Cloud9 the opportunity to get back into things. They are 100% completely and utterly dominant coming off the back of Coastline. Cloud9 have an opportunity, though. They have a clean slate here, Des. They can forget about what has gone. What we are going to see here is, you know, can Cloud9 deliver that mental strength that we need to see out of them to just forget about the result. What's done is done. Move on. This is Clubhouse now. This is a new game. Let's focus in and get this win.
And on a map like this as well, I think for Cloud9, you're not going to be doing too much complaining. It is one of their go-to maps in APAC. Admittedly, a lot of the top teams in APAC are like this. Giants are the same. And I think about Cloud9 and the things that they can do on this map. Hopefully something with a bit more structure, less arguably exposed angles from outside the map as we had on Coastline, which they were getting bitten by more often than not in those rounds, comes back to help them here. Cloud9 bringing out the exact same banners on Coastline. It's going to be that Habana against Mkers. Clearly something they aren't too bothered about being without for their attacks here, likely because you'll see them step towards something like the Maverick for dealing with those hatches.
Yeah, pretty stock standard so far. Cloud9 going to take Maestro out as well. We did see, I don't know if that's just in response to that one round we saw Gemini managed
MV Taylor is so triggered.
Yeah, he's like, I am not playing against Maestro again. No way.
Get the strat book out. I'm choosing this ban, boys. It's the way it goes. Valkyrie also coming out, which was also a ban by Mkers on the previous map, which maybe suggests they want to play a little more aggressively, don't want to deal, at least when they're on the attack, with the extra information that comes out. With the Maestro and the Valkyrie banned away, I'm keen to see if something like an Echo starts getting brought along, because suddenly IQ is now considerably less valuable given that the Valkyrie is taken away, and the only real reason you have for bringing the IQ is literally to deal with an Echo. So we'll see if it comes along in that sense, or whether we'll see something entirely different. Looks to begin with, it's going to be that level of different. Gym and Bedroom to kick things off. The Monty being picked away, changed over to the Mirror, and on the other side, it is the Monty that's going to be stepping away for MV Taylor onto something else. Please don't make me add any more words, MV. Just pick the goddamn operator. It's going to be the Ace stepping out. So actually the same as what we saw from these boys in the groups. They really love running this triple hard breacher setup.
So, I mean, we'll see how the round pans out, Des. My concern there is the Cloud9, they had this choice there, Des, that was unpredictable, that was something Mkers might not have dealt with too frequently. The Monty coming in there, it may well be something that they haven't had to deal with too much, especially not from a side who are very familiar with playing behind that sort of setup. As it is, they've picked away from it, and we've got a reasonably standard lineup. Like you say, they've got the triple threat of Hard Breach, they've got Maverick, Thermite and Ace all available attacking onto Gym and Bedroom. That's going to give them plenty of utility for breaches. We should see, and if we don't, there's a problem, we should see the hot tub wall open. We should see the East Breach open quickly. We should see the logistics wall opened up if it isn't already by the defenders. You know, we really need to see this multi-angle attack here from Cloud9. If you're going to bring all that Hard Breach, you got to use it.
You have, absolutely. And I think you touched on a very key point there. It's like playing a puzzle game sometimes when you're on Clubhouse. And because you know that Makers are defending inside of Cash and CCTV, you need that East Breach open. You need to force these players out of this area of the map. Otherwise, they're going to sit here. They're going to watch that west window from Cash that looks, CCTV that looks all the way across the south balcony. And suddenly your attack is forced to go through Jacuzzi and to go through logistics. Very predictable for Makers, and they're the ones who can deal with that sort of setup. So rightly so, Cloud9 are going to kick things off here by getting this East Breach opened up inside about 45 seconds, and all 5 members, it appears, are committing themselves out towards this East take. Don't want to split off just yet, so all committed towards making this happen. But I'm watching the clock here, Ace. If it takes them more than like 90 seconds, arguably max 2 minutes to get this done, it's going to sting. And things, okay, that just, yeah. The doors on the plane are still open, right?
So Lolo manages to get the opening kill there, pops up from behind.
I'm baffled.
I'm just going to move on, Des. I'm just going to move on. Lolo manages to get the opening kill there, popping up from behind the deployable shield at the top of Cash stairs. Gets himself a second onto Envy Taylor. There was an unfortunate team kill in there with a nade as well. A nade that I'm sure would have been intended to clear out the deployable shield from behind which Lolo was playing, and this is a round that has gone wrong quickly for Cloud9 here. 4 versus 2, they've got time. That is one thing that is on their side. Harper is going to rotate, and we've also got Shayo moving underneath the map on the Zofia, but there's nowhere safe already. He's gone through basement and he's being challenged from top floor.
I don't want to talk, Ace. Carry on, please.
So, 58 seconds left to go. Shayo gets put down by Gemini, and that leaves Harper with a fraction of health. He's going to give a few hit points away as well as he jumps over the balcony there and will take some fall damage. It matters not as Gemini uses the Vector to find that final kill, and that is another Makers round. And very unfortunately for Cloud9, this one starts out as Coastline finished, and Makers, they looked dominant.
I'm just disappointed. I have no other words, honestly. Pushing in blind to the guy on red, running into a grenade, contesting. So I just don't know.
It's and the thing we've got to say, Desi, this is not the Cloud9 we're used to.
That's it. You are the shining light in my life, and you will always miss the positive. So I feel like I have to balance it out sometimes and play bad cop, because that is such a messy round. Again, like you said, this is not the Cloud9 that we are used to seeing in APAC. And look, I completely get it again. You've travelled halfway around the world. You've gone to a different city. Envy Taylor was tweeting this morning saying he was feeling a little bit homesick. Maybe the boys just aren't having a good time out here. That might be what it comes down to. It sounds like a really weak excuse because
the nade was dropped, I think, as Nova was killed. So Nova gets killed. We've got to forgive the mistake. It's not a mistake. He's gone in cooking the nade to try and clear out the deployable shield. He gets dropped as it happens, and the game mechanic is that the nade goes.
It drops on the floor. You walk over it, you can die. I get it. I get it. It's still just incredibly messy and scrappy, and it's painful to watch. But again, some lean given. When we see them in APAC, this is not the team we're used to. The one thing that makes me sad is, like, you know, let's be real about this. A lot of people will say, oh, APAC weakest region, they can't compete with other regions. And for the longest time, we said they can. We've seen what they can do, what some of the teams coming out of there can do. Cloud9 being one of them, Giants being another. We know they can do great things. And both teams here, I feel, have had a rough time of it. We didn't have wildcard, unfortunately, as they couldn't leave Australia due to the COVID-19 restrictions in the country. And it's boiled down to what we've seen here. Cloud9 being the last hope for APAC, stepping up and not quite having the best game yet. I'm hoping we get to see the flash of brilliance, and I said this over the weekend. Maybe with the weekend to recover, we would see something special coming out of them. But so far, Makers, as the underdog, are showing they're the ones with the sharper jaws, and they're the ones biting on hard.
And that's the key, isn't it? They're just absolutely locked on at this point. There is no moving Mkers. The thing is, Des, right now, Mkers, they smell blood in the water.
Yeah.
They know that there is a big matchup lined up for them in the next round of the Six Invitational. They've got TSM in their sights and they're excited about it and they want to progress. They've got that wave of Italian fans behind them, urging them on, and they know that. You know, these players, they're not silly. They see the social media. They know what's going on, and they'll know that they've got that huge wave of support from those passionate fans behind them, and they want to deliver the performance to go with that, to reward that support, and they want to give them those big matchups. They want to see them play TSM again. They want to test themselves against the best, and so you give them a sniff of that like Cloud9 are now, and it's going to be very, very difficult to try and take that away from them.
The whole underdog story that we always love peddling is so true for a team like Mkers and also for a team like Parabellum. We spoke about them already, their defeats, or their victories, I suppose I should say, over NIP and SSG on day 4 just screams of what teams that you look at and go, oh, they're not going to do anything here. They're bottom of the pile. They're not going to be able to beat these big teams that we've all seen all year long in NAL and EUL, for example. Turns out some of them can. And Mkers right now are definitely doing a tour de force and showing what it is they can do. Round number 2, we go into a more conventional site, stepping downstairs. Gym and bedroom making good use of that first round of a game where you have all 4 sites open. You can do whatever you like. You can try and bait the other team into thinking you're going somewhere that you're not. And finally, I mentioned it earlier on, are we going to see the Echo, I said, because the IQ I don't really think has enough value to pick here to deal with just an Echo. Apparently, Cloud9 agree. They're sticking by the same setup once again. Let's see if they can deal with the downstairs defense coming out of Mkers.
So we've got the Echo on side, as you say this time, Des. We'll see how that factors in. We've got the mute of Equi, and we'll see. I don't know if there's going to be a top floor presence or not. We don't have the Mozzie alongside him, so not necessarily enough information denial to really commit too much to the top floor, but I think we will see. Let me put it this way, I'd be surprised not to see a roam presence up on the top floor. Because why not at this point in time? Mkers, they're having the run of the show, Des. They're finding every advantage inside of gunfights. So why not get somebody up there and just challenge for a little while?
The only reason why I wouldn't be super keen with the setup is normally you rely on like a mute and a Mozzie combo with someone then supporting you on the ground floor so you can retreat downstairs. Otherwise, the attackers can just cut off the stairways. They can have someone watching the hatches, for example, force a bit of pressure on the top floor and send you flying back. And I believe that's why you're going to see Scato just beelining it straight back to site there. Got himself a drone and now has pulled himself back. And that is often what you'll see a lot of air quotes roamers do. They're not really looking to go hyper aggressive around the map and sit in a corner and wait for someone to run past them. What they're actually waiting for is to pick off a drone and then retreat back downstairs onto site and be happy that you've reduced information, because the attackers have to re-drone that spot again in case you're still there. It's almost like one of the kind of staples of good siege in a way, where you could sit on site with 5 men, you're not going to achieve much there, get out and kill a couple of drones early on and then get yourself back on site and there are absolutely no problems.
Cloud9 moving well so far. A minute into the round, they've got the kitchen hatch open. I think they're fairly confident that there's nobody to cause them any issue up on that top floor. Now, Nova will need to be careful. He's going to drone himself. That was my hope there, because Sasha has been playing inside of that dirt tunnel, as we see on the smoke. So the challenge could well come here. I think Nova's keen to have a look, but no, he's going to dip away for the time being on the Maverick. There is maybe more work that needs to be done, although goes back to have a second look here. No, he's pushing in, Des. He's committing to this. He's looking to see if he can get them that early pick and get them the advantage here now. Sasha pushes forward, pre-fires. He's just going to dip back. I think he knows that the pressure is mounting onto him, especially as the drone comes, but this is his position, Des. He can play the shotgun here. In comes the nade. He just dips back, pushes forward, and there you go. It's CQC. Des finds the kill with the shotgun onto Nova, and that is Cloud9 throwing another man away there and unable to get the kill. That's the Maverick gone, and there's going to be no hatch opening for him to do today.
I think they got most of them, given the fact they do bring this triple hard breach and there's no Kaid on side, or at least being brought along here. Maybe you asked the question of, there's that Jaban, why wouldn't you bring the Kaid? It's probably because you're just expecting the Maverick would be committed to the right areas if there was a Kaid, so why bother in the first place? But I think you're right, 9 times out of 10, you are not going to win that fight against the smoke. He's going to take your head every single time with that shotgun. They've opened up the Ash Rush wall here, I think, just to try and confuse Mkers. I think there's a push coming in, and then have rotated the way down to Moto instead. Shile looking to do something. Default cam still left up, now finally been shot out. Smoke's coming through, and there's a plant going down here. Not quite in the default spot, but very close. Aqui going hyper super aggressive, and there is zero cover. They drop down through the hatch, but it's like raining kills coming through here for the side of Mkers. They absolutely clean Cloud9 up. Not a terrible attempt, but sadly not enough cover for the diffuser forced their hand. They had to drop down through the kitchen hatch, and that never is going to end well.
Solid play from Akui there. I think he recognised the danger that diffuser was potentially going down, so just aggressed underneath the kitchen hatch there, took the risk and got himself one down, stopped the plant occurring, also got a kill as the second man dropped the hatch. Finished off, but the damage was done to the Cloud9 attack at that point, so another good defensive showing from Mkers there, again having the answers to what Cloud9 tried to bring to the table. Heading into round 3, and Cloud9, they're in danger here of finding themselves on a complete successful defensive rotation. We are, of course, on a 2-round rotation for the sites, so if you're a little bit newer to Siege, what that means is when a defensive team wins on a site, such as they just have done on Church and Arsenal, they need to play 2 rounds somewhere else. Win or lose doesn't matter, but they need to play 2 rounds away. So by cycling through 3 sites, each time you win one, you move on to the next. It means you can then go back to your first choice site.
You know what I realised earlier on, Ace? I debated you, I bamboozled you, and I lied to you. And for that, I apologise.
Not the first time, Des. It's not the first time.
Definitely won't be the last. Mkers did not play against TSM on Villa. It was on Clubhouse, on confusing Parabellum and Mkers because they are the 2 underdog teams. But Mkers, when they played against TSM, I've just recalled it. Do you remember their smoke rush? Where they smoked outside box 2, rushed their way down hallway. Akui vaulted over a shield, killed 2 people. It was a beautiful execute coming out of Mkers. They had a man go through Ash Rush wall, drop the plant, swing back round into hallway, kill a guy who was inside Church. They completely turned TSM upside down and gave them no opportunity to respond. Mkers look good on this map, and I've only just really remembered it coming into it again, thinking it was Villa they played on, but no, that was Parabellum. So my apologies on that one, but Mkers are definitely no pushover here. If you can bring down TSM quite comfortably, I think it's fair to say that Cloud9 are going to have the run of the mill to be able to stop them from succeeding here.
The beauty for Mkers, Des, not just inside of this game, but inside of the tournament, is I get the feeling that as much as, every team here is going to be taking Mkers very, very seriously. There's no 2 ways about that. Their performances dictate that. But ultimately, they're unlikely to ever be seen as the favourites.
Never.
So they get more and more powerful as the tournament goes on. And I don't mean that as any sort of slight to Mkers. As I've said, I'm loading praise on them. They've done extremely well so far. They're an entertaining team to watch. They're very accomplished at this point in getting in, taking advantage of weaknesses and turning rounds on their head. It's been fantastic to watch. Static, he finds a nice kill onto Akui to start things out for Cloud9 there. But ultimately, my point there about Mkers is they get more dangerous as this tournament goes on because they gain more experience with every game, they gain more confidence with every game that they win, and yet the expectation externally of Mkers is each time going to be it's a bonus if they win. So, there's no pressure on them at that point. Now, we found ourselves effectively 5 versus 3 here as Lolo is down. Now we can see Sasha just moving and challenging, and you really shouldn't be getting away with picking him up in that position, Des. They've got to Cloud9 get a little bit more aggressive there and try to move in and take advantage of that sort of situation. Static ultimately does that and manages to get the kill onto Sasha, leaving Lolo now on about 20 health, closed down by his own man as they try to make the challenge, but that's not the end of the world. I think that kill, or death rather, was coming anyway. Scato shut down off the garage catwalk, and Cloud9 just seemed to have the run of things all over the map there, Des. They had a good handle on where all those Mkers players were, and they were just finding angles onto every single one of them. Mkers just seemed very exposed inside of that round.
Yeah, much better coming out of Cloud9, a lot more structure, good with the kills, and even though that 1 kill did come back from the Pokeball, I think either way it turned into a 4-man left at the end, so almost a flawless round. And we spoke a little bit around Mkers earlier on and about the team. I think the crazy thing when you look at it on paper is I look over their histories as players. The most notable scene they've been on is Ghostgiller. And unless you're in Europe and you're into the Challenger League and the regional scenes there, chances are you probably haven't even heard of Ghostgiller. Just for them to be on an international stage like this, like they barely attended a LAN in their life, this is no doubt the greatest LAN they'll have ever attended. And think again about, one, the weight that puts on you. And you've got some regional fans back home, but for teams like TSM and G2 who come here and know that there are orgs with big expectations, there are fans with even bigger expectations back home, you come here and if you start doing poorly, that expectation and weight and pressure is going to build on you. For Makers, that isn't really a thing because no one expects you to do well. And that is why, again, we love rooting for an underdog because there are no expectations. So when you do well, it's always better than what everyone assumed would be achieved in the first place.
Round number 4 then, and we see Makers once again going to Cash and CCTV. We've got Lolo downstairs reinforcing the garage, Scato just setting up, and Sasha opening the rotation at the top of Cash stairs there. Gemini looking to apply some utility possibly out on the construction and master side. So it looks like Makers are going to be very aware of the potential for a west-sided push, which wouldn't be completely out of the ordinary for Cloud9. Nova making some immediate progress in towards the building, very cautious of the garage door which has been opened, doesn't want to get caught out with an early spawn peak. It is the absolute last thing that Cloud9 need right now, and the east wall has been electrified. We're going to see no doubt quick progress made onto that. It should be short work for Nova on the Maverick as he starts to open things up with the blowtorch. He'll just give a little bit of extra juice to that central strut there that will get it to drop away, and then he'll get himself on the upside down rappel to open up the other end. The reinforcement will shed itself off the wall and it can be opened with a simple soft breach. Now Scato, he's holding down here. I'm not sure if he's been picked up by that drone or not, Des. It won't have been easy to see through the debris and the hole in the wall there, and if they're not sure, certainly aware that Scato is playing there as the Kaidi, could well have some joy as they try to move in through this soft breach.
I think slowly drawing their way back as well. Again, it's just about wasting a bit of time, and once you know that utility is being committed, drones are coming into you, that risk increases that you're going to get pinched because Cloud9 can start taking positions, they can cut off your rotate, they can do something as basic as getting on the construction window and just waiting for you to run past and looking to get you down. That's why they had Gemini standing nearby, being ready to provide assistance if that requirement for a trade or a gunfight did come through. But like all sensible teams, again, you waste a bit of time, you waste some drones, have killed 5 so far, you get yourself back on site and you feel happy with the time and resources that you've already drained.
Harper quickly established inside of master bedroom, then still half of the round to go. We can see the construction wall has been left soft. Something that I first saw coming out of the LATAM region last year was leaving that construction wall soft rather than reinforcing it. It just allows the man playing in behind the bomb chassis to challenge all the way through into master bedroom. Makes it more difficult for the attackers to get established in there. But we do have an opening kill coming in for Cloud9. Once again, it's going to be Gemini on the Goyo this time that goes by the wayside, leaving us 5 versus 4. 50 seconds left to go. Cloud9 making reasonable progress here, Des. They've got 3 established on the master bedroom side, including Harper pushing right up onto the CCTV window. So things are going to start to get a little dicey inside of sight now.
Indeed it will. I mean, Cloud9 has shown already on Coastline how the time, or the clock even, isn't exactly their friend when it comes down to it. They stalled themselves out a little bit, have to go for a final second push, and that can really come back to bite them. So let's see if they can make the play happen here. One being opened up from below to remove that shield from below, I imagine is the play. Absolutely. 20 seconds remain, but you still got to worry about the smoke here with 2 canisters left. He can waste a hell of a lot of time. They've got to make the push though. 5 versus 3 and 10 seconds still to play. Sasha collects one. Another smoke canister comes out. The last one is deployed. Nova is inhaling that gas. He gets put down as he's forced into an unsavory position. Harper finds one. Scato one back. They're out of time. They've got to plant right now. They start committing, but Charlotte and Nova are both down. This round is over yet again. C9 throw away a massive numbers advantage and lose the round.
Coming down to the clock largely there, I think, Des, the time was ticking away and Cloud9, their options became limited simply by the sand running through that hourglass. It was a matter of having to get in and get somewhere to put the diffuser down. There was a couple of agonising moments for Cloud9 there where we have the privilege, the ease of seeing those outlines on the screen, of course, that the players don't, and we could see how there was a number of occasions where with just another second or 2 on an angle, Cloud9 potentially pick up a kill that might just have broken the round open, but it was not to be. Makers, they close it out again. No fear, no panic from them when they go behind in numbers. Happy to play on the site and just waste that time as much as they can, giving them a nice lead now, 3-1 coming into round number 5, and they're going to be heading downstairs to Church and Arsenal.
Those are the kind of rounds that as Cloud9 you really need to win if you want to be making it through this lower bracket. If you want to be beating out big teams, again, remembering the TSM wait for whoever wins this game tomorrow, you can't be making mistakes like that, because when I think about it, TSM are one of the best C4 using teams, I think, in my mind. Just when you feel you've got them beat, you force them back onto site and you're going for a plant, they've still got 2, 3, 4 aces up their sleeve of plays they can make, C4s they can deploy to completely knock your socks off. And that's exactly what they'll do tomorrow if Cloud9 was to leave things that late going through. As it stands, Makers at 3-1 look to be the team stepping forward in that instance. They're not going to be too worried about it. If they keep on pressing on like this, we'll see how their attacking half goes, because that's where the question mark will stand. But we've already seen how they have literally zero fear in pulling the trigger on Clubhouse against TSM already and just completely blitzing their socks off.
15 seconds in then, Shaol with the drones, just checking into garage there, so we can potentially expect a little bit of pressure to come towards blue later in the round, but Shaol for now just feeding information back into his team. Lolo is out on the roam here in and around garage and lounge, so just looking to potentially protect those hatches, waste a little bit of time. He's on the Jaeger, so I'd expect him to be the man that's playing in behind the generator in blue corridor. Akwi going to drop down again, just moving through towards site. Just very cautious roam, Des, from Makers. Not over-committing, as you've said, just looking to give themselves options to return. Lolo and Akwi just playing very tight here on the blue stairs. Certainly no more than 5 or 10 seconds away from site at any point in time. Sort of a semi-roam almost.
Just the lack of pressure from Cloud9 as he retreated back through the map there about, 45 seconds in baffled me. Like, why wasn't someone on main door hoping for a drop from the top floor consulate hatch? Well, consulate construction even, sorry, confusing maps here. Why wasn't someone inside a garage looking to cut the lounge rotate? Arguably, yes, you had Lolo hanging nearby, didn't want to contest it so soon. Maybe they saw him on the drone and didn't want to step in too aggressively, I get it. But you would have thought that would have been a golden opportunity for a team that's a little bit more pacey and able to get in position a bit faster to potentially catch out someone who's hung around a little bit too long.
Invitational has taken a lot of damage in the early proceedings there, down to about 20 health, maybe slightly less, so he's no doubt a bullet away from death. Now then, here we go, that's a freebie for Akwi. Can he get himself a second? The red dot might just give him away there from his laser sight. He has to dip away as the challenge comes in from Shaol, but that is a big start for Makers there, Des, and you've got to ask about the droning of Cloud9. Were they aware of that man or not? I'd have to argue that they had no idea that the mute was in behind there. There was no pre-fire from the Maverick of Nova whatsoever, and he's been very sharp today, so I would expect if he'd known, he would have won the challenge. Now Shaol looks to put pressure onto blue corridor, trying to move the man from in behind the generator. Will be unsuccessful for the time being. Scato gets that nitro out and in hand on the pulse. His heartbeat scanner feeding him information that there are enemies nearby. Now then, Shaol just going in there, taking the bait. The Jaeger of Lolo just teasing him there, sticking his gun barrel out from the generator.
There's a note that's 2 in here. He's got both of his impacts in back pocket as well. I'm kind of confused as to why they're still there. Like, you've got 15 seconds to play with. That should be being used. You're going to get swung on your left, but you get swung on your right at the same time. That's all too easy. Such a messy pushing. Gets shut down for it. Envy will find one, but I'm 90% sure we know how this round ends, Tim. It's going to be another rollover by Makers. I asked that question again, 15 seconds left, and you've got 2 crucial bits of utility that can help you in this fight onto the Jaeger are still in back pocket.
Very, very unfortunate at the moment, but Makers, they are giving no mercy here, Des. They're in no mood to cut any quarter for Cloud9 right now. There will be none given, and I'm sure none asked, but Cloud9, they're going to have to find something, Des. They're 3 rounds away from an exit from the 6th Invitational 2021. We're, of course, in the lower bracket knockout stage here, so there is no second attempt. There is no second life here. Once you lose, you are out. You are done. And Makers, they will be the one to move on for that fight against TSM in the next round. And Lolo just moving around almost at will, getting kills there, Des.
You know what kind of makes me sad looking at it? It really reminds me of the Dark Zero game earlier, where Cloud9 just look a bit checked out, where there's not really any big attempt to drone. There's no pace in their attacks. They are holding on to crucial utility. It's like there's no real heart in what's going on. And I don't know, again, if that's because they feel a bit homesick. They're just, not really feeling it right now. I'm not sure. But it's definitely not looking, again, like the Cloud9 that we're so used to seeing dominate other teams in APAC. Heaven knows, I'll no doubt have a chat with some of the players later on and find out what was going on. But as it stands, Makers at 4-1, one more round, they switch half. I'll be very surprised if this doesn't end at 5-1 for Makers and they then go on to win the next 2 subsequent rounds.
I mean, we're not even seeing Cloud9 come out and dominate the entry, Des. You know, that's something that has been so synonymous with them. But right now, it's 3 entry kills going to the side of Mkers and only 2 to Cloud9. So they're not even getting themselves that early round advantage. Now, round 6, this will be the final defensive round for Mkers here. They're going to be looking to close out what has been a very good half for them on Clubhouse once again. They are in gym and bedroom, which is the site that we saw them defend back in round number 1. They were successful, of course, with Lowell opening up the action with a kill onto Nova back in that round. Just after about the first minute or so, I'm sure Mkers will be looking for a repeat of that to get themselves a nice advantage. Now, Cloud9 don't look like they're applying too much immediate pressure to that east breach this time, Des. If you remember, they got it open very quickly last time. Static downstairs. Maybe a little bit of information that there's been a roamer playing down there. It doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. So whatever Mkers have done, I think they've probably scurried away from down there if that's where they were initially stationed. But one way or another, it's wasted the first minute.
I think he's just about skirting around the default cam, finally going to bring it out. Maybe part of them was hoping that a roamer would be forcing their way downstairs at some point.
Oh, nice shot from Static.
That really stung him in the earlier rounds, but that was a nice shot. Scatter acknowledging as much, and that's 2 kills coming in for the side of Cloud9. Suddenly, the lights have turned on. There is definitely someone home, and they're looking competitive. But Tim, we've seen them in a 5 versus 3 before. We've seen how these rounds can go. I'm praying with 100 seconds on the clock and a 5 versus 3, they can take this round over the finish line.
Gemini just on the main stairs, holding the angle into bar, and it pays dividends as he finds the kill onto Invitational. And this is something that we've seen all too often, Des. Cloud9 get themselves a man advantage or even 2 men advantage in a round and then are just brought back and back into it. Now then, we get the mirror window opened there. And that is not a bad move coming in from Cloud9. It's just going to force Sasha to potentially play a little bit more cautiously than he might have done otherwise. He's going to hold on to that nitro for the time being. He's aware that they are probably out there on that balcony. He's just waiting for the push to come on. He's actually getting quite aggressive up towards that breach. Just
on that drone so bad.
He's certainly not giving up this position, is he? 45 seconds left to go. And Cloud9, come on, let's not stall out. You've got the man advantage. Time to start pushing in.
I mean, you know what he can do with the shotgun as well if they try and get too close here. First, they've got to survive the C4 and then the shotgun, plus potentially the SMG at range. After seeing what that can do already today. In come the nades, which normally signifies there's an attack coming forwards. And yeah, right call to bring out the C4, but not going to connect. A second kill lands. That 5 versus 3 has become a 3 versus 3. Those 100 seconds have become 20. And for Cloud9, it's slipping away from them again. It's Gemini finding a triple. One more across to Lolo. And like that, Cloud9 have again lost a round without killing a single man from a commanding 5 versus 3 position with 100 seconds still to play. They just cannot piece together an attack here, Tim.
The problem for me, for Cloud9 here, seems to be the site itself. You know, they're going in there, they're fighting with the roamers. They're not, you know, coming in there at a massive disadvantage. They've got themselves 2 kills to begin with there. And 2 good kills at that, especially the second from Static was an absolute beauty up through the ironwork in the floors there to get himself that kill. But ultimately, when it comes to pushing onto site, when it comes to playing into that defensive utility, that is when the problems seem to start for Cloud9. They're quite happy playing in and around the rest of the map and chasing roamers and getting kills. It's all about getting in there and thinking about getting that diffuser down, thinking about getting map control over the site itself. A real problem in the end game for Cloud9.
Maybe for Cloud9, and this is just theorizing about the kind of historical state of the team in the future state. This is one of their first times at a big, well, it may well be the first time at a big international event like this. They've done a lot regionally. We mentioned how as little as 18 months ago, they were a team still working part-time at a fast food restaurant whilst just being paid a few pennies to play Siege on the side part-time. Now it has become more of a full-time occupation for them, but again, one of their first chances on a big international stage. It's all experience they'll develop. They'll go home, they'll think about and work on, and under the new Tier 1 structure that we have in Siege, think about the majors they can step into in the future after Stage 2, for example, after Stage 3, and what more they can start doing at those. Although this is looking like a sad ending to their time here at SI, I am still excited about the future prospects of this team. Can't wait to see them back in Stage 2 and see them back at full form. Would love to see what they can do at a major sometime, because I know that day will come when they will surprise a lot of teams. Just sadly for them, it's not today and not last week.
And I mean, that's the key thing to remember, Des. As we've said countless times, is every team that has got here has earned their place, regardless of individual performances that they might show us. Yeah, this hasn't been fantastic by Cloud9 by any means, but can I go back and show you fantastic passages of play from Cloud9 at Invitational?
God, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course. And every team has made its mark on this tournament. Every team has got here for a reason. And as you say, Des, they're part of that whole process within Siege, the share scheme of getting your skins out there. Of course, we've got a reduction on those at the minute, Des. 20% off while
Steal.
Invitational is on there. An absolute steal. I'm going to have to go and get one or two more. I've got a lot of the Latam ones.
Of course
It's probably not too much.
Tell you what you want to see. You want to know if a Castra's got bias, just go and look at what Pro League skins
they've got. You'll find NIP, Furia, MIBR, you'll find Liquid.
I think I've got BDS.
You'll find all of those on my account. To be fair, you'll find plenty of EU and NA as well. There are some beautiful ones to be picked up. But back here in round number 7, the matter at hand could be closed out very, very soon. Mkers coming in with a 5-1 half on the defence. It's now their turn to attack, and let's see if Cloud9 can turn their fortunes on its head, Des, and see if they can get the win here.
Absolutely. Well, they've got this mute Mozzie roam set up, but Aqui straight in here. He doesn't care about any kind of mute jammer or any lack of information, but Nova cares about those SMG headshots. We spoke about it a little bit on Coastline when he picked up that 4K, 2 kills in towards pool entrance, swung around for a kill elsewhere. The man was just a living frag machine at that point, and here he's going to shut down an aggressive play coming out of Aqui in true Mkers style. 4 versus 5 for Mkers then, and bearing in mind we have switched sides, they are the ones on the attack. This is where you might see Cloud9 come to life.
Nova just biding his time there, but gets gunned down by Invitational. But the silver lining there is Des that he manages to get in and get the kill onto Gemini as well. I don't think it would have been forgiven had he not managed that. 4 versus 3, and the advantage does go to Cloud9 on the defence here. They scramble to get back to site, and that leaves Mkers fighting into Church and Arsenal short-handed here. Scato does have the diffuser in hand, so that is a point to the credit at least. Harper, he's just waiting for the potential of relocating that electrical, but here we go. The kills start raining in Des. Sasha gets his way into sight. Can he find 2? He's got 1 down. No! Shut down by Shiol on the boxers. That's going to be Cloud9 taking their first defensive round, and a good defense it was.
What I really love about Mkers is their pushes into downstairs on Clubhouse are always so explosive. They're never a team that's going to take it slow and just poke and prod and then go, I guess we drop the hatch here and hope for the best. No. So many times you'll see them storm down main stairs, they'll break open the Ash Rush wall, they're straight in, they're going for a plant, someone's rushing down hallway trying to pick up kills. It can be an absolute delight to watch. For Cloud9, it's a small lifeline being thrown their way. It's 5-2 to Mkers still. A little bit over-aggressive arguably from Aqui at the start. A good shot, admittedly, coming out of Nova, but you still look... That's kind of where he just shrugs at Nova and goes, collateral damage, bro. Like, the guy's dead, that's what counts.
Yeah, this is, if you're teaming with a gunner, sometimes you've just got to accept that they're going to gun through you as well, if it means that they get the kill. But ultimately, there was nothing lost there. They managed to pick up the round. So had it gone differently, you might have been asking a few questions, but not the end of the world. We've just got a quick rehost that is going to be coming in. We'll get all the players back into the lobby ASAP, and we will continue on with this one. But Cloud9 able to pick up their first round in the last 4 days. That stops a run of 3 rounds in a row for Mkers, and just maybe digs Cloud9's heels in, and they can start to turn this map around and get something out of it, even if it's just a close game, Des, even if they can just take it to the distance at least and make it competitive. That is what they're going to be aiming to do here on Clubhouse, and maybe the defense is all that they need to do that. They've had the opening kill in the last couple of rounds, round 6 and round 7. Invitational and Nova picking both of those up. Nova pretty quick last time around, and Invitational with a 3K as well, so there is certainly glimmers of hope there for Cloud9. We'll see as this one progresses whether they can pick up any more rounds or not.
Just a little fun one on the side. I had a message from Fresh who said to me, I've been casting. What the hell's been going on? What are these results? And I think if you closed your eyes and turned away, you wouldn't have expected this coming in today. Like Empire, for example, losing out. Who on earth would have ever predicted that one after their incredibly dominant group stage? Dark Zero, 2-0 by Furia, your boys in the heart, being thrown home as well. Dark Zero were the first team eliminated. It was madness.
Look at it this way, Des. I think coming in, it would be fair to say, I'm not going to say out-and-out favourites because it's a dangerous game with the 18 teams that we've had here at the SI. We've had a lot of talent and a lot of good teams, but I think you would have to argue that if you were going to name favourites, BDS and Liquid would have been very strong contenders in that discussion, Des.
Oh, yeah.
And after match 1 on the A stream and match 1 on the Bravo stream, BDS and Liquid were both down into the lower bracket, and that is all you need to know about how today's gone. It has just been, surprise after surprise, and it's been a very difficult day to call on the whole.
I mean, look at it on paper as well. Like Empire lost 2-0 to Oxygen. Empire being one of, I think, 2 teams. I think them and BDS going 8-1 in the group stage. Joystick reactivated, longer we waited, all that good copy pasta that you guys love. But Oxygen showed that despite the one poor day they had in groups, they can be a very dominant team, the same as they were in NAL Stage 1. MIBR 2-0 in Liquid, BDS losing 2-1 to BDS. Both of those first 2 series going all the way to the 3rd map, the 15th round, by the way. It was crazy. And FaZe then 2-1 in TSM. The LATAM dominance, I think, is amongst us, Tim. Much to your delight.
Well, we'll see how it goes. There's absolutely no bias here, Des. You won't find that. I am equally behind all of the regions. I just want to see some wonderful Siege.
I love how you say that to me with a wry smile on your face.
Well, no, I was just about to pick up on Oxygen, as you were saying there, and I was just going to say why they are such a dangerous team at the minute. I've spent, through my life growing up, I've followed a lot of traditional sports as well as esports in my sort of later life. But
not like 70 years
more
old.
present, more sort of current present life the last few years that I've been involved in esports. But through that traditional sports, I've learned a lot of things about tournament play particularly, and that is that form is extremely important, and you can have the best team in the world come into a tournament, but if they don't find form over those 5, 6, 7 games, it is all for nothing. And Absolutely. It is the team that can be 4th, 5th in the world that comes through and just finds that nugget of form at the right time, and it makes them unstoppable. And Oxygen are potentially just finding that vein. At the minute, they've come through, and as you say, yes, they had a bad day in the groups, but then they've flipped it on its head, and they've taken a really solid result today. And I start looking at Oxygen and just thinking, boy, they have got some very dangerous momentum at the minute.
If they go on to win the whole thing, man, surprise, no one ever really put them down to win, so you'd definitely be one of those. Talking about this round a bit more, you're seeing the mirror window being deployed on that east wall, by the way, not one we've seen for the longest of times. Used normally to help with something like tricking, but given there is MV playing on the Bandit, you'd hope you'd find something. Not going to have the chance to here as both walls were opened by the Ace, or at least planted with a Selma in quick succession, so much so that both of these are opened at the same time. Sasha now sat there on rappel saying, well, I thought I was going to have something to do this round, but apparently not, since they made it so easy for us. C4 coming out, hoping for the doorway. That was very well placed. I like it. Gemini is down, but not out in this case. War getting self-res back up, but I'm sure that one's going to sting in the morning.
Static puts his arm behind that one and sends it all the way from the catwalk straight out of the door and manages to find the down. Now Nova, he will get a kill onto Akwi, and Cloud9 just waking up here again inside of round 8, getting themselves that opener. Gemini on low health as well, and they are looking dangerous. Shio just holding a tight angle there from the garage door onto the external single door. He's going to play inside of lounge for the time being. Knows that there's a man on Repello looking to approach that blue stairs window there, but he'll just dip away. He's going to be challenged from the main door. Needs to get himself out of there really before he loses his life. Static will be downed on the catwalk, and that is about the best thing to happen in this round so far for Mkers. Lolo, he manages to find Nova, and that leaves us Des effectively in a 3 versus 3 at this point, and Shiol is on low health. Things are starting to go from bad to worse for Cloud9 here as Sasha, he finds a kill onto MV Taylor with the nade, and this is not looking good, Des. 2 versus 3 effectively.
Cloud9 and throwing 5 versus 3s into the gutter. Name a better duo because it's all exploding. Charles brings one back at least. A 2 versus 2 steps in. C4 comes up from Harper, connects to no one. Sees the spray and gets Sasha though. Maybe this one they can rescue. Lolo swings in, doesn't see the man on the ground. He's looking the wrong way. That's a triple kill and 30 seconds left to play. Does he know where the last man is? Because Charles is creeping his way up red. I think they know in this case. Doesn't see the angle, but Charles! That should have been an absolute sitter for you, my man. But Mkers, they make it happen in round 8. They go up to match series point and again tournament point for Cloud9. They lose this next round. They're out, Tim. It's job done and done.
Lolo there with a nice health advantage. We've got to give him that. It was 100 HP versus about 20-25. So always an advantage inside of that fight. He literally needed to find one bullet onto Shayol there. A little bit unfortunate because Shayol had really dominated that lounge area and managed to get himself a nice kill and really brought Cloud9 back into things there. But ultimately, Mkers, they were not rattled there. They were able to find their way over the line there despite that early nitro toss coming off the balcony, which you're going to see here. Oh, look at that. Tell you what, there's going to be a few people trying that in ranked, me included, because the challenge on the garage door is something you just like, for some reason, I always seem to lose out on that reverse angle. So if I can launch a nitro out there, it's getting done.
Nice shot coming out of Charles as well, and this was that infamous moment, the 1 versus 1 that we saw melt against them here as well. Lolo finding the first one. And stepping in against Charles as he steps around the corner. Does Lolo lose any HP here actually? Does he get shot even once? No, he doesn't. Doesn't even get hit by Charles. So 1 HP or 100 apparently isn't going to make a massive difference. Potentially into the last round of this series and of the day, because then both series are completed and it looks like tomorrow we will have G2 versus Parabellum first thing in the morning, and then we proceed with the rest of the games for that day.
Round number 9 we head into. This is going to be match point for Mkers. We're going to need a serious turnaround for Cloud9 nowadays. There are no mistakes left. No opportunities here. If they want to continue in the 6th Invitational 2021, if they want to see themselves moving on in the lower bracket to take on TSM, they're going to have to win here. They're going to have to win the next round, the round after that, and a few more as well to get themselves into map number 3. Mkers, of course, if you've only just joined us, did win on Coastline, so this is everything for them. This will get them through. This will move them on to a rematch with TSM, which after their win in the group stages, I'm sure they will carry some confidence into.
Worth noting, of course, at the top of your screens, you have an overlay, and those red stripes, the one currently, well, there's only one, the one right next to Mkers' logo, indicates they have map number 1. So if you do find yourself tuning in all over the rest of this week, you will know what those stripes mean. It means that team has won the prior map. And it even tells you to the right-hand side is a nice little addition. 1, what map we're on. That's what the little red line across the top highlights. And the score on the previous map, showing it was a 7-2 to Mkers. Outright dominance there. It's looking to be a 7-2 on Clubhouse here. And this will sadly go down as one of those games that Cloud9, you would wager, weren't hyper-competitive. A few rounds that could have come close, but sadly given away from, again, those 5 versus 3 advantages that we keep on speaking about. But let's see how things proceed here. 1 minute 45 still to play with. And for neither side, no early engages. But you've got Envy lurking around, looking to cause some trouble on this Frost.
Scato looks to use that Selma to open up the wall, but it is going to be impact tricked by Static. He goes again, but won't be able to reach down to the very bottom of the wall where Scato would place that second Selma. So the low hole there should force anybody out of construction. Envy Taylor just opening up a couple of bullet holes. I think he's aware that there was a man playing in and around Lounge, but as it is, Sasha, he's dipped away. He's going to get himself upstairs and look to move over, no doubt onto the hot tub wall, I would guess, if he's rappelling up onto the roof there, taking the diffuser with him. So Envy Taylor, he's not going to have any joy in the main lobby in the bar area. He's going to have to move himself, which we can see he's now doing. He's just crouch walking over towards those main stairs. He will at a point decide that there's going to be no challenge coming in from downstairs and will look to move and get himself back up to site.
You've got to watch out because Scato's already got the angle in this case. That west breach has been opened up. He can see the main stairs from here, and as soon as Envy tries to crawl his way back up, he'll be greeted with it. So if nothing else, I'd say just lurk here. Maybe they could even try a pinch. If Akwi gets in from below, they could cause some trouble, but Shyle completely isolated inside of Jim. I think forced to move away by the breaching round, gets himself taken down, and there's Envy. It's what I was thinking of. Let's not try and go for a direct push back up main stairs. Let's try and find something else we can do. And apparently running into garage because it wasn't being covered by the members of Mkers. Mkers will help him find a single kill. Sasha, Akwi with a lovely shot onto Static. A C4 coming singing out. 3 versus 3 with 15 seconds to play. Time waits for no one though, Mkers. It's time to make it happen right now. There's 2 kills. There's 1 man left alive. It's Captain Envy. He will find one, but can he do it all? With so many shots, he's drawing a line around Gemini rather than into his body. Scatto going in for the plant. I don't think there'll be anyone to stop this one going down. No, there will not, unless he can pull off absolute magic and get the quad. This one is done and done. There it comes! Envy with a big 4K. We'll keep the boys in the round, get the defuse off, and they'll hang on for one more round.
Got to find his way back into Jim. He spots that diffuser ticking down, will be able to disable it, and what a round from Envy Taylor there, coming in with a huge clutch moment to keep Cloud9 fighting here, Des, keep them involved in this one. I tell you what, they can't rely on a player like that every round, can they? Des, they can't allow Akwi to play on the south side windows like that. He got himself one before he jumped into the map. He then jumped in and got himself another. Had he not been so focused on getting that default cam, he'd have killed Envy Taylor as well. You got to be careful of that. No presence in CCTV at all for Cloud9. Nearly cost them the round there.
Just goes to show where the small things can come to cost you in a way. Like, Envy was ignored. They initially put a bit of focus onto him, and then after a while chose out, forget about it. Let's go and open things up and start pushing for the site. It's not worth chasing shadows for the next 2 minutes. And Envy strikes pretty big. Once from the main stairs, once inside a garage. Comes up big in the late round with that 2K as well, coming out immediately after the plant. It's a good way to suspend the team's involvement here, but I think if you're on Mkers, you just say, right, if you're trying to play quite ratty, bring along a Jackal, bring along something to deal with this roam play coming out of C9 and see what we can do. And stepping into this next round on the downstairs defense, it looks to be another pretty big roam setup coming in, this time with the Mute and the Mozzie, which is what I thought was missing, at least for Mkers earlier on in their defensive half.
Envy Taylor just grabbing the hatches at this moment in time. He's on the Mozzie. Now, we've got the Mute as well, so we'll see whether Cloud9 commit to this top floor roam or not as the round progresses. I think they need to be careful with this one, if I'm honest with you, Des. I think so far Mkers have done a good job of going in and challenging the roamers, although the last few opening kills, 3 out of the last 4 have gone in the favour of Cloud9. The last round itself was actually Lolo onto Shaol to open things up, but Cloud9 maybe just feeling a little bit of confidence in that early round, but the last thing they need here is to be losing 1 or 2 men on the top floor. So whilst I'm not suggesting they shouldn't be out on the roam, I think they just need to play it cautiously and play for time more than anything else.
Absolutely. I mean, time has been the big subject that we've spoken about in a good number of these rounds, how it's forced mistakes out, how there's been very little time left. That is a beautiful shot out of Envy. Sasha, not even a headshot coming off the back of that one, but it's enough to put him in the dirt, that's for sure. And that, no doubt, should put Mkers on a bit of a slow burn now, knowing that you don't have the Maverick. You are facing off against a Kaid on the other side. You are going to struggle to get some of these crucial hatches open at this point. So to my mind, this should be quite predictable for Cloud9. You know they're going to have to force the way down main stairs or through one of the hatches that haven't been opened up or haven't been electrified, sorry. Or you look towards something down through blue, maybe dirt, but kitchen hatch at the very least should be safe.
Just a little replay coming in there. Whoa, an absolute beauty from Envy Taylor there, just spotting the man on the rooftop and shutting him down. And it is an important kill, Des, because we've also got Akwi going from the kill as well. That's Ash off the board. But more importantly, you mentioned the hatches. We've only got Scatto now capable of opening hatches, and the Ace can only open 1. 2 out of 3 Selma devices are required to open a single hatch, so it is going to completely limit them to just getting the kitchen more than likely now. Envy Taylor, he's on the crouch walk. He's keen for more here, Des. I'm not sure if he's been picked up by the drone there. It doesn't look like it. We've got the Book of Lolo just looking to approach that door there, and he's not prepared, Des. He wasn't looking in the right direction. There was no way that he was aware of Envy Taylor's location there. Envy doing exactly the right thing, dipping himself downstairs. Look at him, he's challenging players all over the map here, taking chip damage left, right and centre, but Scatto, he's the one to find the kill onto Envy. 4 versus 3, and we have got a round on our hands.
This is basically what we criticise Cloud9 for not doing back in the first half. Not having a man on the main door to contest them as they rotate down. Beautiful setup from Scatto, and although he does take a bit of chip damage himself, he definitely wasn't in a bad spot there to do the damage that was required. More of these goo mines starting to be chucked out here, and contesting a C4 comes out, and Scatto wasn't quick to react enough. His ally was, but still it's a 3 versus 2. Mkers got to make something happen. There's 2 of them at the bottom of main stairs. I said how much I love seeing their pushes from here, but this is where they might stall out.
Mute jammers just preventing those Selmas from detonating, so it's going to be a case of pushing in through the single doors or potentially the Ash Rush spot on the wall. What a kill from Gemini, finding Static through the chair there. The debris not slowing him down in the slightest as he finds that long-range headshot. 2 versus 1, and Shiol, he just answers back with a kill onto Gemini. 2 versus 1 here, and we're being treated to a masterclass right now in the long-range kills. Shiol finds Lolo, and that's going to be another Cloud9 round. Are they fighting back, Des? Can they do this? It's 6-4, and they're starting to reel the Makers back in.
Makers just getting a little bit lax, I think, in the early round and being taken out by these cheeky kills coming out of Cloud9. Something that we spoke about a lot last week for some teams. Play the disruption game. Get up in the face of the attackers. I don't mean literally. It can just be at long range, but give them something to think about early. They lose a crucial member or two, like they did the Maverick there. A good number of those hatches likely aren't getting opened up, given there is a Kaid on side, and it's going to sting. That was the first opener. The second one here from Charles being a little bit closer. Akwi was down dealing with the goo mine, and thankfully that sound cue helping him out in that spot. Scato trading out Envy as he tries to rotate back downstairs. Some real cute stuff coming out, to be fair, overall, but for Cloud9 it is all stall and delay tactics that's also netting them kills. As long as they can keep this up, Makers will feel stretched, but I rue the round when they manage to bring a bit of order to it, whether it's a Jackal, whether it's something else coming along, or as we're now seeing on our screens, a Monty coming out for Akwi. That's a bit of a change away from being an Ash main.
It certainly is, and it could be a big play here. Of course, the APAC teams being the teams that tend to make this move, Des, that tend to bring along the big shieldy boy to try and close out rounds. But
Chonky boy.
It's going to be Akwi this time, bringing along the main man Montagne to try and find the round that Makers need. 6-4 here. They've been reeled in with 2 rounds so far from Cloud9, who are now finally fighting back and making a matchup of this one here, looking to push us into a third map before they get themselves removed from the 6th Invitational. They are fighting as hard as they can right now. Static, he's down there chasing drones, manages to find himself a kill before getting back up onto the catwalk, where he will establish himself and lock in for the rest of the round.
I'm looking at the comp that they've got here, or the setup they've got coming out of Cloud9, and I'm thinking, doesn't really strike much confidence in dealing with the Monty. You look towards the smokes, sure. C4s,
tried it again.
I guess they help, but yeah, he's really loving these at this point. I think maybe a little bit too much as that's now been taken out. That would have been 1 or 2 or 3 of your crucial tools to deal with the Monty if he does come running up the catwalk. It's been a long time since we've seen that kind of meta where it was Legion versus Monty on the stairs, for example. The Monty tries to get onto catwalk, force a player on their back further, rather than trying to nade him out, which has been the go-to meta for the longest time. Interesting, given there's normally a Wamai in the meta as well.
Scato can see that the wall is electrified there. Out goes another nitro. As you say, Des, that's 2 nitros used to no effect now. And if Akwi can make himself a nuisance inside of this round, they could well find themselves, Cloud9, wishing that they had those explosives available. The Bandit batteries will be cleared out, so the mirror is likely now to be cleared away and the east breach opened. And here goes Akwi as he starts to push himself onto the bottom of the catwalk stairs there, just feeding the information about Static's location in. Just applying caution at the minute. He's certainly not rushing himself in there. I think he was just letting him know that Shiol is playing down at the bottom of garage, but I don't know exactly how aware they are of his exact location there. The Maverick is being very careful, Des, and in comes the challenge. Shiol's going to take a lot of damage. He's going to have to dip away into lounge, and Akwi now is going to be free to start really bullying Static and pushing the Kaid back.
That Monty is such a bully, giving all the information, I think, of where Shiol was trying to contest behind the motorcycle, so he knew how much could be the Maverick. This is how much could be opened up, how much he could challenge from there, and knew at the right time to stop, get off, bring out the M4 and look to challenge onto Shiol as he was trying to peek on forward. They're getting more of these angles opened up here, just looking to force members of C9 back. I think Grenade's going to come singing out, and Shiol, he had absolutely no hope, no knowledge there. Now it's Akwi, still stood here being incredibly patient, waiting for the assistance from his teammates. I think Sasha stepping over, another grenade in hand, that sings up on top. Is it going to be enough to kill Static, but he's taken down to about half HP. We're seeing the Lukid style vault over, but sadly, there's no 4K to be collected. Lolo putting Static in the dirt, and now we step into the final 35 seconds or so. You've got the Monty, and you start thinking, okay, boys, time to get this wall opened up. Let's start thinking about that plan.
Well, they've got control from East Breach, Des. They've got control of Catwalk. They've opened up access to the default plant spot in behind the server stack. So realistically, Makers should have everything they need to start pushing in here. But of course, there is still a nitro in hand. There are still smoke canisters. Now, the nitro will find Lolo, but that won't stop Akui from going in and getting the diffuser
angle
down. Essential cover from Sasha onto Harper there that allows Akui to plant. He can stand back up, get the shield out, and as you say, Des, that should be it. That should be the story completed here as Mkers. They are now 3 versus 1. The diffuser is down and active. There's going to be Italian fans going wild in the chat tonight, Des, because Mkers, they have won. They progress in the 6th Invitational 2021, and they will face TSM.
For Cloud9, for APAC, the journey ends, but for Mkers, the dream continues. TSM, a rematch I know that so many of us have been dying to see since their initial face-off in Group B last week. Commiserations, of course, to Cloud9. Of course, they made it through to playoffs, and that itself is worth commending. And I really do hope we see them step back